The people in northern Gaza were given a 24-hour ultimatum to leave, even as the United Nations branded Israel's evacuation order an impossible task. The United Nations further warned of a humanitarian catastrophe, but Israel refused to walk back on its order. Out of fear, many residents packed their life's earnings and moved to the south of Wadi Raza, only to face this. Overnight, Israel bombarded two southern cities of Khan Yunis, Rafah, and Deir el-Bala. The Palestinian Health Ministry says over 70 people were killed there. Medics were seen pulling out some survivors from under the rubble. In the daytime, witnesses said artillery shells kept coming from across the border. Even before last night's bombings, the situation had turned dire in the south. Around 1 million people were displaced from north and moved to south. Immediately after, hospitals and shelter rooms were attending to patients more than their capacity. Food, water, and medicine supplies are running low throughout the strip. Meanwhile, there is no uncertainty about aid. There are talks of aid being transported from the Rafah border, but we have no confirmation at the moment. The people of Gaza are growing desperate. A Reuters report claims that people have resorted to drinking salty tap water. The water is contaminated with sewage and seawater. United Nations says fuel reserves at all hospitals are expected to last for only 24 hours.
Civilian infrastructure, hospitals, classic case, and the health system, of course, in Gaza generally, but in the north in particular, is collapsing before our very eyes. Water supplies are cut, stocks are pretty well out in most of these hospitals. These are civilian infrastructures, and they also are protected by international humanitarian law from attack. They must not be attacked. They must be places of safety.
The question now is, where do the people of Gaza go? Out of the 3 exit crossings, 2 have been shut, and Israel has refused to open the third one. The people who have been displaced so far are not certain if they will ever return. Many are calling the current situation as another Nakba, which means catastrophe in Arabic. It was the destruction of the Palestinian society in 1948 that permanently displaced them from their homeland. So the latest at this hour, we are waiting for the President of the United States to head to Israel. He is expected to meet the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and hold talks about the operation that will take place in Gaza. Israel has already warned Gazans to move southwards from North Gaza. They say that they are targeting Hamas hideouts and not civilians. We're also waiting to see if the ground invasion will begin. And for more on this, we are now being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhan Sibol, live in Tel Aviv. Sidhan Sibol, good to see you. What do you have for us at this hour?
Well, Eric, not very good news is coming from Israel. In fact, the third time in just a matter of 1 hour, I have seen the rockets being launched towards Tel Aviv, being intercepted by the Iron Dome. And this very place where I am standing just like 5 minutes ago, there in this area where my camera person is spanning, we saw 3 rockets being intercepted by the Iron Dome, and we have the visuals as well of the interception. But the city has been witnessing a lot of sirens going this evening, and that is happening just 1 day ahead of the visit of the US President Joe Biden. So quite a scary situation on the ground. We have seen almost a daily ritual around this time, evening time. There has been these sirens and the rockets around Tel Aviv being intercepted as well. So worrisome situation. The big focus remains as to how diplomacy can diffuse the ongoing crisis, and perhaps a big day tomorrow here in Tel Aviv with the visit of the US President Joe Biden, which is seen as a solidarity visit to this city.
Sidhan Sibol, maybe you can tell us more about that visit. What are the some sort of preparations, security preparations for the President of the United States? I know his people, his men are there, but what or how has Israel prepared for this visit?
Well, heightened security, that is the only thing I can say. All across the country, there is heightened security. Towards the south, there is much more security with the presence of tanks and the security personnel, the army on the ground. And there are many areas which have now become no-go areas for civilians, even for journalists as well. Now, we know that when it comes to the situation for the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, it's a very precarious situation, because while there is diplomacy at works, and it looks like situation has been in a lull now, because no ground offensive has been launched even a week after the Hamas terror attack. He faces a bleak future if he is not able to take strong action against Hamas, because there is a lot of anger on the street. To speak to any Israeli with the death of 1,400 Israelis and the hostages situation, there is anger, and the Israelis do want a strong action against Hamas.
All right, that is our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhan Sibol, live in Tel Aviv, Israel. Sidhan Sibol, thank you and stay safe. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.